here. We have no banter. We're banterless today. We're business.
Yeah, all business. We've talked on the phone today. It's probably part of it.
That's probably why it is. Yeah.
All right.
Let's see. Let me close out some of this. All right. Yeah. So we're going. So.
And welcome to the Boiled Sports Handsome Hour. Jay Money is off getting his hair and nails did. I'm your host, Boiler Dowd. I'm here with the equally or more handsome Anish. How are you this evening, Anish?
I'm lovely. You know, everybody needs a chance to treat themselves. You know, I think J Money is. He's earned the facial. I think.
Yeah, no kidding. Day of Beauty is good for him, and
Exactly.
he'll be back refreshed and ready to go when he probably comes back, if not in a week, before then, if he comes back. Today's show. This is good news. Today's show is sponsored by a new sponsor. We got a couple new sponsors coming.
Oh yeah,
we got a sponsor. MartinVintage.com. Martin Vintage is an upstart or startup. That'd be better. A startup t-shirt company doing classic and vintage,
real well.
vintage. Yeah, this is a good start for them. Doing classic and vintage Purdue t-shirts. If you're watching, I believe Anish is wearing one of their products right now.
I am, in fact, wearing one.
He is.
It's they are incredibly soft. They were way softer than I thought. What's cool? So you are in the industry, Mr. Boiler Dad, and you know how hard it is to get licensing for the actual So the shirt that I'm wearing is a Boilermaker football shirt. It's gray. It's light gray, and it's got Purdue Pete, like an old Purdue Pete, not the original. You know, not the original Stout Man. Like, this is kind of the updated with the greasy hair Purdue Pete, and I love it. I love this Purdue Pete so much. They've got a really with Ross Aid in the background.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, if you'd like to look as good as Anish, go to martinvintage.com and enter Boiled for 20% off, thanks to your pal Anish, who is modeling Martin Vintage Purdue Boilermaker football t-shirt tonight. So that's exciting. That's a new thing. Now Anish can get the gold grill he had his eye on. That's really, really good news.
Exactly. Really it's the Boiled Sports Gold Grill. I mean, like, let's be serious. Come on. You guys are welcome to use it whenever. It's just going to be at my house.
That's right. Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome whenever you want to. But you can't.
Well, this is the banter that maybe we could have had. Yeah, before we went live, this is the banner that we're missing. It takes a little while to maybe the caffeine's kicking in just now.
Oh, the ice cream is kicking in. That's right.
There you go. So you eat an ice cream every night? Is that your ritual?
Yeah, that's the key to beauty. Actually, you know what it is? It's post wedding.
Okay.
Post wedding, nobody cares about what they look like after the wedding.
Don't care anymore.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
The wedding, those pictures last forever. Yeah. You want like a jawline. It'd be nice. Now it's like, I don't
Just
care.
Lose the jawline after that.
yeah. I'll have a Matt Painter jawline for the rest of my life. I don't care. In my wedding pictures, I look good. That's all that matters.
All you got to do is sharpen the beard. That's what I like. You just sharpen the beard, and then the jawline returns.
You have that down to a science.
Yeah. It's I've been working on it for a few years. So I had the Kyle Orton neck beard for a bit. That didn't help me.
A heavy neck beard, you have to be confident in your jaw,
Yeah, you got to be a big guy too to really pull that off without people making fun of you. And even Kyle Orton, being a big guy, still had people making fun of him.
Yeah, but he was also Kyle Orton.
Yeah, I love that dude. That dude. So hopefully he'll be back in West Lafayette this Saturday for the 4 p.m. kickoff. Another Fox Sports game, kind of a prime time-ish. Big Fox.
Big Fox
sports game. It's pretty cool.
Big Fox, and they were doing. So I think I was watching one of the NFL games actually. So the Sunday afternoon games, and all they were playing over and over again were the preview of Purdue, Michigan at 4:00, and then the Notre Dame game, or not Notre Dame because that's NBC. It was somebody else, like whoever's playing the late game.
I think it's Notre Dame. Is it Notre Dame, Michigan State, right?
So I thought it
I
was
think you're
Notre
right.
Dame, but I was like, but it was Fox. So like, how would they? How would?
No, I think it's at Michigan State. It's at Michigan State,
Oh
so they have the
wow,
rights to it. I think
that's
that's it. And yeah,
they
it's
were
pretty cool. Those
plugging.
are two pretty classic matchups. That's fun. That's fun
I mean,
stuff.
like they were plugging that. I mean, like, they were plugging it every single break. There were ads every single, or there was that one same ad that they ran every single break. Like they were pumping up Purdue, Michigan, which is like, and the spread came out. It was 10 points. And so, if you would have asked me a month ago what the
Yeah, yeah.
spread for week 4 Purdue, Michigan would be, I'd be like 23, maybe, like just over 3 touchdowns.
I said the same thing. Yeah, 20 to 30 points. My college roommate, fellow Boilermaker, class of I want to say 95, December 95. He had one of those mid-year graduations. He sent me that very text. He said, "Can you believe the spread is only 10?" And the funny thing is, these little victories. I mean, but the sad thing is, a home game and having a 10-point spread's no victory at all, right? I mean, if we're looking through the prism of a football program that was solid and been doing well for a couple of years, we'd be like, this is disrespect. But right now, we're like, wow, this is kind of like
I mean, so
maybe
even
even Vegas
objectively,
thinks there's a chance, kinda.
yeah, well, so even objectively, it's like they're the eighth ranked team in the country. Now that ranking is
Yep.
probably a little inflated just because actually once you get past what 3 or 4, actually maybe once you get past 4 or 5, there's like a steep drop off. I actually
Yeah.
think Penn State, even though Penn State might hit, and we'll talk about this in the Big Ten pod next week. Um,
Sure.
I think Penn State's a little overrated. Like Saquon Barkley looks incredible. Saquon Barkley's amazing, but for Penn State to be number 5, like there's a pretty steep drop off after the top 4, and so Michigan being number 8 might be, for kind of a rebuilding young Michigan team, might be a little high, but I still think, a top 10 team going on the road to an unranked team, even discounting the history of Purdue, the recent history of Purdue football. I think that's kind of a fair line. Like I mean, like to me, I think it's a super fair line. But I think objectively, even
Yeah,
I don't know if there's
Vegas isn't
room for
stupid,
disrespect
but
yet. Yeah.
they yeah, they missed last week though pretty badly, didn't they?
Well, and so that last week is because I think a lot of people were looking at that 72 points that Missouri scored in the first in the first game. Even in the second game, they were at 20, 30 points. And so everybody's expecting it to be kind of a high scoring. Nobody expected really, and maybe we can start off here, or maybe actually, like to me, this is kind of the key to the game. The defense is what nobody expected. Vegas's
Absolutely.
models didn't expect the defense. I don't think, even if you looked at the coaches' quotes from the offseason, I don't think the coaches expected the defense to play this well over the first 3 weeks. And so the defense is the one is to me what's going to win Purdue the game. I don't think it's going to be on the offensive side of the ball. The offensive side of the ball, when Purdue has the ball, I think a win for Purdue is when those two geniuses, Jeff Brom and the entire offensive mind, the entire Brom hive mind versus Doc Brown or Doc Brown, Don Brown, and Michigan's defense, and that has college football nerds like excited because it's two of the more creative,
Yeah.
aggressive schemes going against each other. But now it's like if those teams play each other to a stalemate, then the defense has to step up against a Michigan offense that doesn't look that good.
No, it doesn't look good at all. In fact, they couldn't score until the middle of the third quarter last week. They've at times they've sputtered along, and even Harbaugh's remarked how he's not super happy with some of their productivity. And it's weird to me when you have an ex-quarterback who can't really find a quarterback. He's going into, is this his second season or is this his third season? I can't remember.
This
In
is
which
third
he
year.
really doesn't. Third season, okay, and he really doesn't have. He hasn't had a quarterback that I think is his guy yet, or has espoused to his philosophy. Kind of
Mm-mm.
been, an understudy or a mini me or whatever you want to call it.
I mean, because
And
at
the
Stanford,
funny thing is, right away,
he obviously had luck, and then
yeah,
even in the pros,
yeah,
he had Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick. and Kaepernick was the one that, I
Yeah,
mean, in the
yeah,
pros that he loved and he groomed. And so,
right.
yeah, it is kind of surprising that to this point he doesn't seem to have a guy. And Michigan's current quarterback is not he. I mean, he's fine.
Yeah,
But like
nothing to write home about though.
Spate. But like, yeah, he's a
Mhm.
senior. And
Yep.
he hasn't really shown that much. And I'm sure that Michigan has a freshman that I don't know about that is redshirting right now, and that's going to be, is going to be the guy. But it's still kind of surprising that they don't have it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, total offense, Michigan's around the center of the pack in the conference, and talent's never really the problem at Michigan, is
No.
it? I mean, if you looked at Michigan's stable, I'm sure there's a guy in there that would be a solid quarterback someplace. He's just not working out for Harbaugh, like you're saying. There's a freshman back there, a sophomore, somebody in the stable that's good. I don't. I'm not educated enough on Michigan football recruiting to give you any information there. What we do know is they've got road graders on both sides of the ball. They always have size. They always have speed. So this is going to be really a great test of Brom and Holt's ability to counterpunch athletes, right? I mean, they
Mhm.
did a really good job. Louisville had athletes, but Louisville had some big youth, right in the strength of their offensive line.
Mhm.
Their defensive line clearly isn't as good as we thought it was. Clemson, they were really depantsed, quite frankly, on
Oof.
both sides of the ball.
Yeah, but
So,
that just
so
might
was
be. I
that
mean,
was
Clemson
matchups?
just might be. Clemson might be on a different plane, though. Clemson and Bama, like those two teams, might
Mm.
be playing a different sport than everybody else this year.
Yeah, you thought. I think everybody thought Clemson's defense would be good again. I mean, that's the
Mhm.
thing. But did we think that Clemson's offense would be able to do what they did versus Louisville? Especially, I would
Without
think that was
Watson.
the game that Petrino had kind of circled, huh? Yeah,
Mhm.
without Watson. It was a little disappointing for me to see that, not because I'm a Louisville fan by any means, but because I thought that would be kind of a bit of a barometer for our Boilermakers, and seeing them whipped so badly didn't feel too great, honestly, for me. It didn't change anything though. That's the interesting thing. So if you look at that, Louisville's good to mediocre, right? High teens to low 20 team, probably
They're a
where they
top 20
belong.
team, I think.
They're yeah, that's not a horrible team. Um, uh, Purdue looked like they were going through some growing pains, trying to figure some things out in that first week. They already look better than that, right? Obviously,
Oh my God,
Ohio
yeah.
is a bowl team. Ohio's a bowl team. They're probably a top 40 team. And Missouri looks like a glorified high school team, especially what we saw
Oof.
last week when they're in complete
Ooh.
disarray. And I mean, it was interesting. If you listen to our pals over at the Mazodcast, they were down in the dumps going into it, but they really said Missouri had to show some things in the first 5 minutes just to get their heads on their shoulders or get their hearts in their chest, whatever you want to say. And Purdue just kind of ripped it out in front of them with a couple big plays, and David Blau was doing things that made something out of nothing over and over and over. And I do think that was actually David Blau, the best version of David Blau we've ever seen
Oh my
in
God,
a
yeah.
quarter and a half.
He didn't make
Even
any
better than
mistakes.
the
Yeah. That
didn't
second
make any
quarter, he
mistakes.
had that one drive that coach yelled at him for, but I honestly think it was just more like he told him that he would still be rotating quarterback, so Sindelar was going to get a chance
Right.
at some point, and so um, I don't know if it was actually anything that he did. Actually, so speaking about our friends of the Mizodcast, their post
Mhm.
Purdue podcast, which was completely miserable, and I enjoyed every second of their misery.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
did too.
it what
Mhm.
what they were talking about was that their quarterback, they didn't believe that their quarterback could make plays when things broke down, when the pocket kind of collapsed. They didn't think that he could either get the 4 yards with his legs and slide, or he could step up and keep his eyes downfield, um, or be put really in a position where his strengths are maximized. And so that's what they were talking about David Blau. Like he was this different level quarterback. And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
like we've watched
Right.
2 years and a couple games now of David Blau. And like he's very efficient, and he's accurate enough. But it's not like he's got a
Mhm.
cannon, and it's not like he's the smartest quarterback. He's not the most brilliant quarterback. He makes both. Purdue had what was the stupid stat that we were saying? Like I think that somebody was saying on the group chat earlier. It was that David Blau had. This was the first time that Purdue had gone without an interception in like 2 years. Um,
Yeah,
the first
yeah,
game
in
or
an
this
entire game.
season. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, spent the
yeah,
entire game without an interception. And so Blau does make those stupid mistakes, but to hear another team who hasn't watched him every single game for 2.5 years now, talk about what a good quarterback he was, like that was just that was illuminating to me.
yeah. I mean, the really interesting thing to me when you look at Blau is we saw bad David Blau for about what, a quarter, right, versus Louisville. It was, and he was
Hmm.
pretty lousy, maybe a quarter and a half. And I'm still convinced, and I can let the rumor out of the bag that I heard weeks ago that I never really publicized, but the rumor, it's unfounded, or not unfounded. It's, I haven't seen anything to back it up other than it kind of looked like it. The rumor that I heard was that he actually had his shoulder scoped after that injury, which isn't a big deal. I've had my shoulder scoped. And I was up and at him pretty quickly, and I didn't have the training group that he did. But anytime you get cut on,
Hmm.
if this is true, keep
Yeah.
in mind, I'm saying this was a rumor. I heard it from a good source, I thought. But if he had his shoulder scoped 10 days before that Louisville game, that's a big it's a big difference, obviously.
And it would
And
explain it.
when you're in pain and when you're fatigued, you make stupid mistakes. It would explain a lot. We haven't seen a bit of that.
Nope.
Granted, Ohio didn't push him and Missouri didn't push him. So Michigan will push him. So the question is, will old David Blau creep back in, or has he had enough tutelage, enough coaching to raise that play for an entire game? I guess we'll see.
I think the biggest thing is like, um, will he play with as much trust in the coaching system as he has played in the
Right,
last two
right.
games?
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
biggest thing. Is that Brom, the Brom brothers put him in positions where he just makes quick decisions. He basically has.
mhm,
I mean, that was a big complaint over the last 2 years. Or 3 years, like two offensive coordinators over the last 3 years, or how many ever we had. I can't
mhm.
even remember now. I've blocked it. But
Yeah,
like
no,
the
it's okay.
the playbook was so deep, and it was so unnecessarily complicated. This was with Shoop, and there were like 4, 5, 6 different situations for each play, and it's not
Right,
straightforward. The cool thing about Brahms' playbook is that from the quarterback's perspective, it seems to be very straightforward. You do X, Y, you read Z, and you throw. And
right,
it's everything else that the complexity is added. It's the combination of wide receiver routes combined with what the tight ends are doing up the seams. It's what the running back is doing. It's how the offensive line is blocking that's confusing the linebackers. I mean, like all of
right.
that is where the confusion is put on a
Mm,
defense. And David
yeah,
Blau doesn't, that's what I was asking last week. Does the quarterback matter? It's like maybe a great quarterback can take this offense will take this offense to the next level. I have no doubt. But
mhm,
I think any quarterback who can make it at the Big Ten level, or is at the level even coming out of high school that Elijah Sindelar or David Blau were, both. I don't think
mhm.
Sindelar was Elite 11, but Mr. Kentucky football, Sindelar, and the Elite 11 for Blau.
Yeah,
If you're
he was a
that,
high 3-star though. I mean, that's
he
the
was a high
thing.
three star, yeah,
He was a decent
yeah.
group.
And so it's like if you meet that level
Yeah,
of, you're a clear Big Ten starting quarterback, right? I think Brom can put you in a position
mhm.
where everything is simple enough that you can make these reads and look like a genius. And that's the big thing. Will
Right,
he
right.
trust him? And or will the rush get to him? Because Michigan's going to have that advantage, and the defensive
Right.
coordinator is going to um, be aggressive and test him out, and just to see if they can get him on his heels.
Yeah. Here's an interesting thing that I brought up to you guys off the air, off the site. David Blau is he has the best passing percentage in the league. He's completing 76% of his passes so far in the season. I mean, that doesn't mean he's the most efficient quarterback because he's had, some crappy that one Louisville
The Louisville game, you can say, I mean, the Louisville
half
game, I think both
just
of them were
killed him
bad. Yeah.
statistically, right?
Yeah.
Well, he looked good for a quarter. That was it, right? And
Yeah, sure.
Sindelar looked good for a quarter, and they both looked pretty bad in the second half. And really, we haven't seen a bad version of them since. So here's some interesting stats. So we said Blau completing 76% of his passes, still being in the top 10 in the league in spite of splitting time with Sindelar. That's pretty interesting, right? Because he's really played about 2/3 of the snaps offensively for Purdue. That's a pretty impressive stat. Michigan's quarterback Spate is 10th in the league in passing. Michigan does not have a receiver in the top 10 in receptions. Michigan does not have a running back in the top 10 in rushing. So that offense, it's not only that when you watch them, they don't look impressive, they also have not been impressive statistically. And you and I have also talked about analytics this week, just recently today. And if you look at the measures by which, whether you do it by your eyes,
No,
which I
yeah.
always do, and then I like, oh, okay, I hate them or I love them, and I make a quick gut decision, or if you're analytical like you are and you go through and smartly and pour over the numbers, I mean, either way, Michigan's offense looks pretty lousy, and Michigan's defense looks pretty good. So this could be pretty fun because I am excited about this defense. The more I watch them, the more I see the way they
Oh,
do things, the emotion they play with. It's been fun to watch. Can I interject one thing that I've been wanting to talk about?
interject
I
to
forgot
yourself.
to talk about this on my individual.
Interrupt.
Quick.
Feel free to interrupt yourself.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. So this is something that I think this was the key to the game last week, and I think this is the biggest change from previous seasons of anything that I've seen. And we all saw it. We all may have made a note of it mentally, but Purdue scored a touchdown, I believe, in the second quarter versus Missouri, and it was called back due to I can't remember the
Oh,
penalty,
this is the
but
right,
I mean
the
that's a
early celebration and the hold.
yeah, there you go. There you go. So the hold was it sent them
Hold was
pretty
the one
far
that.
back, right? Because that
Yeah.
was that was a pretty big deal. What'd they do? They scored 2 plays later,
Mm-hmm.
right? That and they scored 2 plays later, not in a way that it felt like they got lucky on a long pass or something like that. They just kind of played football. And I hate to sub phrase Brahms catchphrase. Has that been trademarked by the way yet by
Oh my
Purdue, do you
God,
think?
yeah. Oh
Let's
yeah.
play football. I
Because
sure as hell
they're
hope so. I mean, I was thinking about it the other day. It's awesome. I mean, it's fantastic and it's simple and it's no nonsense, just like him. But that's the fun thing about this offense, right? Is that there's no gimmicks here. There's nothing fancy or silly happening. This isn't like when Joe Tiller came in and defense was like, we don't even know how to prepare for this. We don't have a way to scout for this. Blah blah blah. This is just an offense that's really well coached. Seems to be really solid in spite of the inability to have receivers catch the ball from time to time.
Yeah. Oh my
But
God. I mean, and
but
that's the thing is that.
the attitude is incredible, right? They just march.
Oh, and it's that's the biggest difference um between Tiller the 97 season. I mean, like I don't
Mhm.
know when this is going to go away, when we're going to stop comparing this season to 97, right? Probably when we lose three straight, right? That's probably when it'll when
Well, after they win their bowl against Oklahoma State,
yeah, that's
that's it.
yeah, that's right. But the
Whew,
difference is
that'd
that
be crazy.
Joe Tiller brought in a system. It was the spread, and the spread had been tried rarely in the pros, or a little bit in the pros, and rarely in college. And it to the point where Joe Tiller wasn't even wooed away by some of the big dogs in college football. He was trying to be wooed away by Colorado and that type of, that caliber of team. And so even with Purdue succeeding, it's not like these teams were lining up to get the author of that system um, to head their program. The difference with Brom is that there's no system. It's not like he's bringing like the West Coast offense. It's not like he's bringing any of that. It's just creativity. It's really, really it's just simple creativity. It's having an open mind when you are designing a playbook. It's simplifying the playbook for the quarterback so that any quarterback can step in. Any quarterback good enough. So like good enough meaning Sindelar, who with zero real reps under his belt can step
Mhm.
in and run the system well. Um,
And that his didn't he have a JUCO transfer take over for him at Western Kentucky? Is it the
mhm,
last year or the last 2 years he was
last
there?
2 years.
And, I mean, And he wasn't a guy that a lot of programs were beating down his door to get him to come on campus. He was a solid quarterback. I would argue Sindelar was a more highly touted guy than that guy, and he put up massive numbers, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, regardless of what it is, I mean, it's funny. I try to always think about formulas to success and reason they happen, and I think people that are smarter than me try to look at those the metrics that make it happen. But the biggest thing about Brahm is I think he sells something, players buy into it, right? The way he backs up his players is much different than Hazel. Hope backed his players up, but Hope also didn't have the football brain that Brahm does. Brahm seems to have a good mix of being a player's coach and being a smart guy
He's a rare
and a
dude.
CEO. All these things that you really need right now in modern football. And yeah, there's no gimmicks. There's just I think the biggest thing is that he's got players in the position to succeed on both sides of the ball. That's the thing, both on offense and defense. And he's really got the team playing hard, playing with emotion. They don't give up. I mean, that's kind of the thing with that penalty and coming right back and scoring. It's the same thing as you see just on the defensive side of the ball generally. Just guys are playing hard all the time. That's a huge deal. And
And so
it's funny. I'm like,
the two MVPs on the defensive end so far have been Bailey and Bentley. I mean, like they've been incredible. I mean, like they've been the first one to the ball every single time.
yeah.
The Western Kentucky transfer McCollum. I don't know. It's TJ. I think it's TJ.
It's McCollum. Yeah, it's very close to
Yeah, CJ McCollum. So
yeah.
that's why I get it. That's why I get them mixed up. I watch too much NBA.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
so
that's what my son said when we were at the Louisville game. My son was like, "Did he just say CJ McCollum?" He just over the PA. I'm like, no. And he's my son's a bigger NBA fan than I am. So, but yeah. I mean, you've got. I mean,
go out to a bar in Indianapolis and just talk hoops.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Well, you know what? In all seriousness, sometimes you're in town and he would watch NBA basketball. He'll watch anything, and he'll start spouting off odd facts about things that I'm like, I don't even know how.
We're gonna replace him. We're gonna replace you with him pretty soon. So I'm just letting
he's better looking than me already, and you just need to get the voice part down. And even there, in allergy season, I sound like this, and out of allergy season, I sound like this. So it really doesn't matter. I sound like crap generally. So are you haven't
the linebackers might not be, all three of them might not be available. McConnell might not be like a go for Saturday's game, and so that's good. That's kind of a bummer. But I mean, but on the other side, Michigan is without Tariq Black there. I mean, he's a true freshman receiver, but a four-star, solid four-star receiver, and he's been pretty much their reliable option on offense. So both of those
out for the season, because
yeah, I'm pretty sure he's out for the season. That's a bummer for him.
Yeah, that's too bad.
I don't know what the redshirt rules are
for them,
but yeah,
It used to be 50% of the snaps before the mid waypoint of the season. I don't know if that's changed, but yeah, I don't even know if they would try to redshirt him, honestly. And if he can be eligible by the bowl game, I think a lot of question marks
that's fair.
It would change their perspective on that.
That's fair. So but both on that side of the ball, when Michigan has the ball, there are a lot of question marks. And that to me, that end of the ball is where the game's going to be won. It's not when Purdue has the ball. It's if Purdue's defense can hold Michigan under, let's say, 26. And if they can do that, I feel, like Don Brown is great, but I feel comfortable with Brahm and any offense, any capable offense that he's had time with. I'm comfortable with him scoring in the mid-20s, like against anyone.
Yeah.
That's the point. That's how far we've come, is that I'm so confident that we're going to score against one of the best defenses in the country, right? And play that end of the ball to a stalemate. And so it's gonna be on hold, man, and that's a lot of pressure for a defense that, I mean, when was the last time the defense played an entire game under lights like this. Like this defense, this squad, let's say in the last 4 years, like I can't even think of one.
No, hadn't happened. Hadn't happened.
And so it's just like,
Hadn't happened.
this is the closest to a marquee game any of these guys are playing. Like
Yeah.
it's cool, but on the other side of it, it's not like it's not like Purdue has anything to lose, right? We're not playing with anything to lose. Um, Purdue has the
Some
wind behind
money.
their sails, right?
Yep. Yep. Right on.
And so
Yeah,
that's the thing that can hopefully play into our, in our favor.
yeah. I mean, you haven't. I don't think you've posted your predicto yet, correct?
I emailed it out. It'll be up. I think at the same time that the podcast will be up, so it'll be on the website.
Okay. So, well, I mean, the reason I asked that is I think the past weeks I haven't shown my hand at all during the handsome hours during the
Indeed.
week, and this week but everybody's known where I've stood, right? I would say this week the listeners, the watchers, whoever out there have said, probably don't know exactly where I stand because I sound have a little more trepidation, a little more concern because the opponent is so good. But I will say this. I will say what I'll give the preview right now.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
Okay. I've got the good guys winning. I'm the lone wolf, I think, right? I think I'm the only guy that
I think you are the only one.
I'm staying confident.
Unless J Money makes a late audible and joins you on that side of the fence.
He won't change. He won't
But
no way.
I think I predicted a very close in the 20s win.
Close game.
Or close loss, I mean.
Yeah.
Kind of like a heartbreaking 27-24 type loss. But man, first of all, if that's the final score, like I'm good. That's kind of best case scenario that any of us could have dreamt going into the bye week, right?
Oh man.
But I mean, we played this hypothetical. I think it was one of the questions in the predicto was if the stars align and the Michigan miracle happens, like the possibilities for Purdue's season, like I can't even think of it. Like it's Purdue becomes like Purdue leaps that middle tier of the Big Ten West in Northwestern and Minnesota, right? And Purdue's immediately with Iowa and Wisconsin battling for the Big Ten West title, which is insane. It's insane to think about that.
It is crazy.
But like
it's insane to think about it, but it doesn't feel horribly like a reach either at the same time, does it?
I don't know. I mean, like, let's play the other side of this, is that maybe we're pulling too much from 3 games against a rusty Louisville team, a mediocre Ohio team. They're okay, but any Big Ten team should be able to beat any half-good Big Ten team should be able to beat Ohio, and a Missouri team that's going through probably their worst season in the history of Missouri football.
Right.
So maybe we're pulling too much for that. Maybe
so you're saying that they've done what an okay team should have done.
Maybe they've done what an okay team should have done. And this week,
I'm going to counterpunch you. Okay,
go ahead.
I've got it. Okay, it's not just that they beat a decent Ohio team; it's that they beat a decent Ohio team like a drum and controlled both lines of scrimmage. That's probably my biggest thesis for why I'm all in right now. And then not because they just beat Missouri, but because they completely destroyed them from the get-go and left no doubt by halftime, right? So with bad teams, that's what you have to do, right? And we've seen this before. If you let a team like Purdue hang around, because let's say Missouri is a lot like Purdue in the previous couple seasons. If Purdue hangs around for a half, who knows? Maybe they'll compete all the way in. We know better than to think that maybe they'll win. And I think Missouri fans think the same of Missouri right now, right? But Purdue just absolutely demoralized them. And then versus Louisville with a very, very shoddy group of skilled players, right? There was no identity in the offense yet. In fact, think about this. The Big Ten's 4th or 5th best runner right now, Tario Fuller, really couldn't get. He was Louisville. He didn't. He played horribly. He had 2.5 yards a carry, I believe, 2.7 or 2.
And
4 yards to carry.
I don't even think he was the feature back. He wasn't even the second. I think it was still Knox and Jones, and he got kind of the third running
Yeah,
back
Jones.
type
Yeah,
carry.
that's right. And they were forced to put Fuller in
Hmm.
there after Jones went down. So that's the other interesting thing. I haven't read anything more about, is Jones expected to play? Has he been practicing more?
I
I know, like you were talking about McCollum earlier, and
I don't think that Jones. There hasn't been much chatter, which kind of makes me think that Jones isn't on the, him playing isn't really on the in the stars. But I think he's gonna. I would say he comes back after the bye week. I think that's what they're waiting for.
right, right. Well, regardless, I think the interesting thing is it looks like Purdue has weapons right now. Cole Herdman is a legit weapon, right?
Well, so they have at
Jackson
least
Anthrop is
three.
solid.
Yeah, I think they have at least three. They have two tight ends. I mean, there's a really good breakdown. I linked to it on in the Predicto. There's a really good breakdown written by an SB Nation homepage, right? Or like the SB Nation like proper um,
Hmm.
uh, college football writer who kind of broke down the film of Purdue, and they basically point out that Purdue runs sets like an NFL team does. Three wideouts and two like two or three wideouts and always two tight ends. And because the two
Yeah,
tight
yeah,
ends and the slot receiver, those are Purdue's weapons. And Phillips and
right.
Mahanku haven't shown it yet, but they're burners. They can run out routes. If they and what that column was showing was that they can run out routes, like the out routes that they are drawn to run. It's not of any skill of their own. It's the routes that they're running, the route combinations that they're running is what is throwing off defenses, is what throwing off safeties and corners. It's kind of providing that misdirection. And so they're at least doing their jobs as decoys. And Purdue has at least three receiving weapons. I would like to see, like you said on the last Handsome Hour, on Saturday, our
Hmm.
whiskey and adrenaline fueled Handsome Hour right
Hmm.
after the Missouri win. You do want to see the running backs get a little more. You do want to see DJ Knox. Let's see what he can do with his hands. You know what I mean? Like let's see what he can do
Yeah.
as a receiving threat, especially against a defense where, the front seven is going to get penetration against Purdue's offensive line,
Oh
maybe
yeah,
quick throws.
and they're so much better in
Oh,
space than anybody we've seen. I mean, one thing that Purdue's offensive linemen and David Blau both said that Missouri had one of the biggest, strongest fronts they were going to play all year. But I would argue that Michigan's are probably just as big, and they're twice as fast, and their linebackers are amazing athletes. So
oh yeah.
they'll be able to close down those gaps a lot quicker. I mean, those dump passes and delay screens, and those won't be there. Not especially not for a gain of 25 or 30. So it'll be a different offense. It'll have to be a different offense. But I still am pretty excited a bit about it,
Oh,
and
I
I
think it's
like I like the fact that we can talk about it.
I think it feels to me it feels completely different than last week. I mean, that's what the Missouri loss or the Missouri
Yeah.
win buys you, right? It buys you comfort because
Hmm. Hmm.
you at this point, I think we're comfortable that Purdue won't embarrass us, right? The
Hmm.
Purdue team is not going to embarrass us in any way. Even if they lose, that
Right.
they're going to lose throwing haymakers, right? And
Yep.
so
Yep.
like knowing that worst case scenario, Purdue's 2-2 into their bye week. Like it doesn't matter how they lose at this point. It Purdue goes 2-2 in the bye week. Best case scenario, Purdue has a win over a top 10 team and is going into their bye week 3-1 with the wind completely behind their sails. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like
Yeah. Yeah.
we can't lose this week. It's just
Right.
it's excitement. And
Yeah. Perspective really matters here, and I mean that's the thing that I'm sure the coaches are reminding these players that there's nothing but an opportunity to gain
Mhm.
ground on the entire conference, and to put another feather in your cap and learn a little bit more about yourselves. And I'm sure they're closer to a sellout. I don't think they're at a sellout yet, but it'll be a better crowd than the last game at Ross-Ade, regardless. I think they had passed that a couple days ago, so it'll be a great environment. It'll be exciting, and I think the good guys are going to win, and I think they're going to win because of the environment. I think that's going to be a big part of it. I think it'll feel different than it did versus Ohio. So it's going to be a ton of fun. And boy, I hope I'm right. If I'm right,
Ooh,
man,
you're
I'm
just
rich now.
dancing down the street.
Let's be
That's it.
honest.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be rich. Oh yeah,
Oh,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
Just put all your money on it.
And I'm not a betting. Yeah, exactly. I'm not a betting man, so I won't put a nickel on it.
Yeah.
I'm
Put
not even
all.
betting any T-shirts about this.
Yeah, you already won your Martin
Yeah,
vintage T-shirts from Michael
yeah,
already. So I
yeah.
think, yeah,
It's a,
I think it's I don't know, this at least what Purdue fans should do is really watch the big picture. Don't just watch the when David Blau and Purdue's offense goes against Michigan's defense, Don Brown and Michigan's defense. Watch the big picture. Don't just watch David Blau. Watch what the linemen do. Watch how the receiver, or watch how the linebackers react to the line. Watch the secondary react to the wide receiver routes. Like this is what this matchup is. Honestly, what college football nerds who report on this nationally are really waiting for. Like every
right.
one of these experts' eyes, like there are going to be so many columns this after this weekend on this game, win, lose, or draw. Like
Yeah,
it's gonna have the eyes of at least the people that write and really pay attention to the X's and O's of the sport. And so it's fun that that's our team. So like, I'm excited to like learn. You know what I mean? I can do this with basketball,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but like I want to get there
Right.
with football, and this is like that kind of a matchup where you do.
Well, there's one thing that's really cool that we saw last week, and they've added a little bit more of this each week, and that is the offensive line getting even more active, meaning you have Kurt Barron pulling
Oh,
way out in front of Sparks on a quarterback sneak a couple weeks ago when Purdue was in the Wildcat. Last week on one of the jailbreaks, I saw four offensive linemen down in front of
mhm.
Fuller. I mean, holy crap! When you have four 300-pounders out in front of you, good things are going to happen regardless, right? So it says a
and
lot of things. It says
and
that
that's how
these guys are the design of this offense dynamic, right?
that's how you overcome some of the like you're going one on one against defensive linemen that might be bigger and get better leverage than you. But if you're not
Hmm.
going against them, if you're 4 5 yards downfield going against linebackers, any Big Ten, any worthwhile Big Ten lineman is going to win that battle. Against against a
Hmm.
college
Hmm.
linebacker, right? Even Missouri's linebackers. Purdue's going to, these linemen are going to win that battle. Those are the kind of position, like that's what we're talking about. Like putting players in positions to succeed means like things like that.
Yep.
Means Kirk Barron, 5 yards downfield, blocking his linebackers in secondary instead of,
Hmm.
going one on one against maybe a defensive end that might be bigger,
Hmm.
better than him, like one on one.
Yeah.
I just think it's like,
Right.
oh, it'll be fun. It'll be a fun time, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be a ton of fun. So is it here? Let me ask you a question. Obviously, the score matters at the end of the game. That's the big number. But from an analytics standpoint, is this game as simple as the turnover battle? If Purdue wins, because that's kind of the way I look at it right now. If Purdue can win that, they win the game. I really think it's that simple because both teams are really, really good at not only forcing turnovers, but Michigan's good at forcing turnovers and then scoring. I think they've done it 2 or 3 times already this season.
Yeah.
So if Purdue can stop that, right? Stop the stupid turnover that leads to an instant 6 points. I think that's huge. If Purdue can win the turnover battle, I think they win, period. That I think it's that simple. Do you have any thoughts on that idea?
Well, so I'm actually oddly confident in David Blau and the running backs to not turn the ball over this game. I think the Yips are a little done. Um, I think they're pretty comfortable with the roles that they're given. I think the passes aren't going to be in dangerous spots. They're not even going to put David Blau in the position to read for a dangerous pass for an obvious to set up an obvious pick six, because that's where, like you said, Michigan's strength lie. Um, I think it's if Purdue forces turnovers, yeah. So I think that's on that end of the ball. If Purdue forces turnovers, you feel really good about our chances, right? It's just that's the
Right.
end that I'm really concerned about. Um, And so,
Well, I
yeah,
think you hit on a profundity there, and that is that if the coaches do what they're going to do, which is try to keep Purdue out of the position where they have to make plays that will,
don't
that puts
force
them
it.
in danger,
Hmm.
So it really comes down to scheming. Don't force it. So does that mean Purdue's going to be conservative? Absolutely not. But I think it's just going to be smarter football.
No,
So
it's smart football. Yeah,
I'll say
it's.
Purdue wins the turnover battle. They win the game, and you say not necessarily, but you still think that
I
that
think it'll be close. I
yeah,
think it'll
yeah.
be close and in the mid 20s. Both teams are going to be in the mid 20s. I think I had 27-24. And for
Hmm, hmm.
Michigan's offense to put up 27, like, we you still gotta see it. I don't think they what'd you say? They went 2.5, 3 quarters without a touchdown
Yeah,
last
yeah.
game. So it's like, you know, I
2.5.
I think Nick Holt Nick Holt might be earning his money this week. So we'll see.
I
Um,
think he's already earned it, if you ask me.
oh,
He and the whole coaching staff have already, they're worth their weight in gold. And I've already joked around with people about contract renegotiations happening right after this game in
honestly,
a small room underneath Ross 8.
win this game, and Tennessee and Notre Dame are already going to be sniffing. And I say, just give him a 10-year extension. Just do it. Just do it. Come on. It's only money. You could buy
That's right. It's only
happiness.
money. The Big Ten has a tree for every team in the conference anyway, so they just go and pluck a few dollars off it.
That's the
So, and
crazy
that's
thing
never
is
any
that.
money. We all know that will never ever go away.
Oh no. Oh my God. It's fun to be in this position. So that's all I'll say. It's
It
really
is.
fun
It
to be
is.
in this position. And
So
this game is going to be fun. This game is going to be a lot of fun. Especially on when Purdue has the ball. Like that matchup is going to be fun to watch. And everybody will be watching it.
yep.
So just get on Twitter, and everybody will be tweeting. All the smart football guys on Twitter will be tweeting about it. So we will leave you with
Yeah, it'll
that.
be fun.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you to martinvintage.com for sponsoring. Remember, use the code BOILED when you go there and you buy your shirt, and you look as good as a niche.
For 20% less.
Martinvintage.com. And thanks for listening to the Boiled Sports Podcast Network, a version of the Handsome Hour that's a little bit of a mix up, but still just as handsome. We appreciate you taking some time out of your day and listen at work, hopefully, and getting a little respite there. Um, BoiledSports.com, the Handsome Hour, BS all the time.